writing 2s in all the books. Just throw them right off.
Oh, shit.
Right, I was going to get like a wine glass and like have milk in it and stuff like
that. Yeah. I'm going to try not to cough too, bud.
I could start talking
I'm
like
done with this.
Like Mr. Howell.
You could.
No showing this.
Yeah, don't do that.
I would attempt it, but I guarantee I'll call.
The ramifications of Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
That's a pretty good Mr. Howell.
Mm-hmm. That was really good.
All right, Ray.
I was talking like that at my kid's concert. I was sitting next to my dad, and I started getting bored because you're there like an hour before, like so you can get good seats. And I just started talking like that. I thought he was going to pee himself.
Yeah. I'm liking the floor behind you there, Eugene. That looks good.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I still
only took half your life.
Yeah, I know, right?
Lay it down.
Yeah, that's what she said. I still have to do quite a bit of quarter round, but
that's what she said.
All of you.
No, you don't. You love us because you should see Jennifer and Fred when we're at our EGX meetings.
We're in like a meeting with like 20 people. We'll look at each other and go.
And now they started looking at me, so of course I'm in on it.
Of course.
So,
right on.
Man,
I can't hear you.
Excited to talk about this book with you guys.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out roughly how I need to turn the knob to prevent from me coughing into the. Yeah, baby.
Oh, it's one of those shows already.
Yep.
You should do a whole epically geeky episode of just setup lines for That's What She Said.
I think we did episode. Yeah, I think we did episode 69, and I think we did just constant jokes if I remember correctly.
That's awesome. Speaking of, what's our topic for this week?
Oh yeah,
3 suggestions and nobody really.
Oh shit! Did we not decide on one?
No, I was just like, what are those? And then
I said, remember.
Okay. Which one did y'all want to do?
Was
I had to
bad
read them
movie
again.
plots, right? Happy Meal toys and.
Oh yeah,
because we were just figuring out time. So Happy Meal toys, and then New Disney Afternoon. That was.
We take Disney and Pixar characters and use them and start a new series.
Yeah.
Oh right, Woody and Buzz rip off Law and Order. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, you kind of pick a third, a show, and you're gonna shoehorn some of the Disney characters into it, and
I'd watch.
And like I said, do what?
I'd watch the hell out of that show.
Because and see, the thing is I was thinking the last time we did it was a long time ago. I was thinking very narrow, so I was picking specific, like a specific movie or whatever. But some of the other people, like Lainey, she was like, I just pulled like all the Disney princesses, and I'm like, I never thought about like pulling characters from several series. So I'm like, yeah, absolutely. If you need to do that too. So
I think I missed that episode, so that would be a fun one.
All right, you don't want to do that one then?
Does everybody have enough time?
You've got till Sunday night.
That's lots of time.
Can you do it, or do we want to do
2 or 3? I mean,
two. Honestly,
yeah.
2 is fine. Like if you can come up with 2, that'd be great. And even if you just kind of start getting the basic stuff together for it, that's fine too, because then we can flesh it out as a group.
Okay.
So well then that's it. We'll do that.
I guess
we can
Scott's
pull
not joining
characters
us.
from like any series and then shoehorn them into one. Like, say, like take Darkwing Duck and I don't know Baloo, and then put them into another show.
Sure.
Why not?
Okay, I just get the rules. That's all.
The Big Lebowski.
See, it's funny is like I did Bambi as
The Office.
The Office, yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, we weren't on this episode.
We missed that episode. So we'll have to, I'm in for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we'll do that.
So Scott's not joining us tonight, I guess.
No, he never got back to me. I have a feeling he's probably pretty swamped with a new book coming out.
Yeah.
So
I would say so.
Yeah.
So, but we will see. Okay. What I was going to say, Ray, is do you want me to do the intro and the outro stuff, or do you got that covered?
I've got the outro or the intro covered for sure, and I will attempt the outro. We'll see how that goes.
Okay.
And
Sure, dude.
whatever I miss, you catch me up on, and we're good.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Trying not to cough. What sucks is earlier tonight, the boys were sitting down and starting to do homework, and I started talking and then trailed off into a cough. And it was like, it was kind of a hacking thing. That little asshole Alex started making fun of me, and then Nick started it up. And then I look at Christy, and of course she's busting a gut because she does that shit to me. He's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, this is your fault.
Yeah.
Stop covering your mouth when you cough. Cough all over them.
Cough all over
Stop covering your mouth when you cough.
Fine, I'm going to share my germs, you jerks.
Yeah. Come here. Then they probably run away, so. Alrighty. Muting mic and starting in 3, 2.
Welcome, everybody, to Marginally Geeky, episode 29. This is The Authorities by Scott Meyer. Now, listen, we are changing things up a little bit.
Whose voice is this?
Usually, you are listening to Eugene Stevens. Tonight, I am hosting. My name is Ray Andrew. And I've taken over the show because this month, I thought I'd give Eugene a little bit of a break because he decided to do the floors in his house. So...
Thank you so much.
He also can't breathe right now, so.
No, he can't. That's okay. So yes, welcome Eugene. Along with me tonight, I have Eugene Stevens. I also have Sean McLaren. I have Jen Parker. And
no, not Jen Parker.
No,
Jen
not
Hetz.
Jen Parker. Jen Hetz.
We know a Jen Parker.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Jen. See,
and it's begun.
How long have we known each other? You know, it's fine. It's fine.
No, you know what? She actually looks like Jen Parker too. Anyway,
yeah.
So, you anyway, and then I have my lovely wife Chris as well. So, we are welcome everybody. How's everybody doing?
Good. Halfway through the week.
I'm exhausted. I'm still trying to recoup from doing floors, and I've got this cough I can't seem to get rid of, and it just sucks. So if I drop out or just kind of start talking and then trail off, I'll be back. Just give me a second.
He's got the black lung.
Pretty much.
If I actually start doing that, I will cough myself. So that's not good. Yeah, so we're changing things up a little bit this time around. I asked Eugene if I could take this episode because I'm excited for this book and this series, and particularly because it's a Scott Meyer book mixed with Luke Daniels, who narrates it performs it on Audible, and I really love those two together. Luke creates the characters that I love listening to. So with that, I've sent out some questions to the group, but I'm going to go over a little bit of a synopsis of the story first. If you're listening to this, you've probably already listened to the book, and we'd love some comments in the section below, or send some emails to us, whatever you need to do to send us your thoughts on how this the questions that we ask. So
I'm nuts. You haven't said what the book is.
I did. I said it was The Authorities. Episode 29, The Authorities by Luke Daniels.
By Scott Meyer.
Scott Myers, performed by Luke Daniels. Anyway, see, I'm going to screw up lots.
They're just feeding on you, dude.
Oh, yeah, I know, and I can't wait till it's their turn. All right. So, a little synopsis. So, we have Sinclair Rutherford is a young Seattle cop with a taste for the finer things. Doing menial tasks and getting hassled by superiors he doesn't respect. Definitely not part of the finer things. Good police work and bad luck lead him to crack a case that changes quickly from the career-making break into a high-profile humiliation when footage of his pursuit of the suspect wildly inappropriate murder weapon in hand becomes an internet sensation. But the very publicity that has made Rutherford a laughingstock in the department lands him. Sorry, I'm trying not to cough myself. Lands him what could be the job opportunity of a lifetime, the chance to work with a team of eccentric experts at the direction of a demanding but distracted billionaire. Together, they must solve the murder of a psychologist who specialized in the treatment of patients who give people the creeps. There is no shortage of suspects. So this should be, this was a fun one.
Real quick, did you write that synopsis or did you get that from somewhere?
I did not. I did get that from somewhere, and
I was going to say you did a really good job with that synopsis.
Like word for word on Audible.
Yes, it was.
Excellent.
And you know what? They did such a good job of synopsis on that one. I had to read that one because I don't want to give away a lot of it, especially that opening. It's such a hilarious thing. That being said, if you are here, you know exactly what the murder weapon is and how hilarious it was, and you can picture it all. And we'll get. So,
are we not going to talk about what it was? Or...
Oh yeah, we'll get into it. I'm sure.
I was going to say, okay. Here's the thing. So I read this book first, and we had already started reading some of Scott Meyer's other books. Yep. And I was like, hey, he's got this other book. It's a different series. I think y'all would enjoy it, but I know you listen in the car with the kids. Here's the thing.
Yes.
So,
yes, the murder weapon is a sex object, and yeah, it was.
And as soon as I heard this, I instantly knew why you guys love this book so much. The scene, I was like, "Yep, this makes so much sense. Why they kept going on about this book."
It's a great opening. Like, how do you beat that opening? So, I wanted to ask you a couple questions before we actually get started. Some things that I didn't actually send you. I wanted to first of all know what you guys thought. How original and unique was this book to you guys? Like, how original was it to you? Like, did you think it was kind of redone? Was it rehashed?
I mean, it takes the idea of, it takes a little bit of the idea of, ordinary cop, gets tasked onto, a super cop team, as it were, or whatever. But most of the time that's done, like the humor there is just him, fish out of water story, trying to fit in. Everyone's a badass. And that's not the case with this team. Like, everybody is very proficient in what they do, but they're by no means badasses. Like, they're goofballs. And
the Dutch guy's kind of a badass.
Okay, yes, Max is a badass, but he's still a goofball. And the humor in this book is one of my favorite things about this book is it never takes itself seriously. His writing is just really well done for this type of series. He's got this type of humor down, and like I said, it is kind of a fish out of water story, but it's also the water is not calm. Like I said, it's not like he's walking in and everyone's like, get your stuff together, kid. You're playing in the big leagues now. It's like, yeah, we're still figuring this stuff out ourselves. So,
yeah.
I think it showed his Scott Meyer's sense of humor really well. He has a very distinct way of honing in on personalities and situations that I don't really see that often in other stories. So like Eugene said, the setup was kind of something you hear a lot, but the way that he handles it and the way he breaks down on the characters, I think, was unique. And some of the things, like he did this in the Magic 2.0 series where he would take a perfectly benign scene, but I would be cracking up at it because of the nuance he put into it, or just like the banter between the characters back and forth. Because you can see it happening,
I'm guessing the scene when they're at he first gets into the job and they're at the psychiatrist office and he's talking to the designer. That's kind of
that. I love that part.
That's perfect. What you're describing, that's what I thought of. It is just a normal conversation. It's nothing. It's nothing fantastic, but the way that it's set up and the way that it plays out is hilarious. So,
Yeah.
He's really good at the straight man humor.
oh yeah,
Really, really good at that. Yeah.
Okay, so what about the pacing of the book? Did you find it too fast, too slow? Was it just right?
I thought it was great.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was just right.
Yeah, I didn't. It does get into it right away, right? Like it hits the ground running, which I prefer. And then you meet a lot of the good, like the characters right away as well, but there's still a mystery behind it too when they first meet everybody, which is what I like. So, all right, well, let's get into the questions that I actually sent you guys. So, the first question I did ask everybody was, what did you like best about the book? So, Sean, let's start with you, bud.
I like the team dynamic that he created in the book. Everyone there had like an integral role in that team. There wasn't any characters or anything created for like superfluous stories. Like no extra nipples in this book. Everyone was there and meant to be there. And I really like that. But I think that also helped the pace of the book too. It kept the book pace right on track, the storyline right on track. You didn't go off a side alley or anything like that. But it probably was one of the reasons the book itself wasn't that long. I listened to it on Audible as well. Seemed to like straight track, kept on that story, and didn't wiggle at all, which kind of refreshing. Like some of the books I'm reading right now, it's like, holy crap! Like, pay off the main storyline, and how are you going to get back on here? This was a nice story that
I agree with that.
dynamic was exactly for that.
As Eugene coughs.
As I have a cough. I was going to say, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, like I said, the humor in this book is just, I adore it. I love his writing. All of these characters. I mean, I said the humor, but maybe some of the characters. There are characters in here, and we'll talk about the characters a little bit. But I like all of these characters. Like even with their flaws, I'm just like, I would love to work with these people. This would be fantastic.
I think it's the flaws that make them, though, right? Like,
yes, absolutely.
So Eugene, you might as well be. So that is your favorite part of the book. That is the characters and.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you want to go now?
Sure. I like a lot of what Sean and Eugene said. I like the dynamics between all the characters. I liked that it's a crime book without it being dark and deep and depressing and unnecessarily violent and like really sinister. It's kind of like Brooklyn 911 that way, where it takes, serious things, but it kind of, it makes them funnier. So for me, that was more entertaining. And I really liked the main character. I don't normally like the main character of books that I read. I find I get bored with them, but I really liked Rutherford. Really did.
I did too.
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
Sinclair.
Yeah,
Sinclair.
Sorry,
Sinclair.
I thought for the longest time it was Saint Clair. I'm like, and then Sinclair.
Sinclair.
I thought it was Saint Clair.
What about you, Jen?
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of stick with everyone else and say the characters kind of made it for me. But also, since I listened, I liked the narration. Luke Daniels is a great, orator, and the way that he brings each character to life, makes it even more entertaining and enjoyable for me. And I also kind of liked hearing characters from the other series come out, like the voices come out. So.
Especially at the opening scene, right? Like it's.
Oh gosh, Miller and Murphy, those guys. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, I'm with you guys. Characters was definitely one of the things that I really enjoyed. The other part that I wrote down was world building, and what I meant by that was he describes, and we talked about him. We talked about it when we had Scott on. He lived in Seattle, so when he describes it,
obviously,
you feel like you actually know what he's talking about. And so I can't even imagine if I were to go to Seattle, I'd actually know what he's talking about just based on the descriptions of the books and and how he lays the entire scene out for you without going into so much depth that you're bored with it, right? Like he explained the layout of the city and how it happened, which I like that part. So that was kind of cool. Does anybody else have anything else to say about that?
Not without trading on some of the other questions.
Yeah.
I think we've hit everything there. So moving on to the second question then. What did you like the least about this book? Sean, we'll start with you again.
It's kind of funny because Jennifer, one of her favorite things was the narration, and I found it a distraction after Magic 2.0, just because. And it's been like a year or so since I listened to Magic 2.0. But those characters are so ingrained in my head that to hear those characters slightly disguised in this series, I did find it a bit of a distraction. I had no story or anything like that. And even the narration, if I hadn't heard 2.0, the narration would have been perfect. But I kept hearing the voices from 2.0, and it was like... this is a little distracting. So much so that I actually went on YouTube to look at what's his name, Jeff or whatever, do a narration.
Yeah, Luke Daniels.
Yeah. Luke Daniels. And yeah, you should never do that either because he didn't look anything like what.
No, he doesn't. No,
he looks nothing like you would picture him at all.
Totally blew my mind, screwed me right up. I had to go drink for 2 days. It was horrible.
That was just your excuse, but anyway.
But for critiquing the story, that was the only thing. And like I said, it was nothing with the story, nothing with any of the written material. And if I hadn't heard 2.0, it would have been spot on. But it just kept leaking into other stories.
Yeah. Well, then don't bother listening to Master of Authority or Masters of Formality, which is another series he's done because Luke Daniels does that one as well, and you will hear the voices pop up in there as well, and you're just like, "That's Martin. Why is Martin talking?"
Well, that was the big one. Like Scott really needs, like, his stories are great, but he should vary his narrators a little bit.
He doesn't get a choice.
No.
Yeah, he doesn't get to pick.
No.
Audible does that. Yeah.
Then Audible should vary it.
Yeah, and Audible should do that, yes.
Yeah. Well, Eugene, did you want to add anything to that one?
The only thing I could add would be maybe too short. I wanted more of it. That'd be my only criticism. I love this world that he's created. I love the characters that are in it. I just want more. And that's why when we did interview him, I asked him, are we getting another Authorities book? As much as I want to finish the Magic 2.0 series, I would not have been heartbroken if he said, well, my next one's going to be the Authorities too. And I would have been like, okay, cool. I'm all right. So,
yeah,
that's it. That's all I have to add on that.
Yeah, right on. Chris?
So I just saw, I peeked at your notes.
Yes.
I forgot. So he tried getting me to listen to this last year. And I had to stop like at chapter 8. I think I couldn't listen to it anymore.
You didn't get that far. I think it was chapter 2 or 3.
No, I got a little bit farther than that. Anyways, not the point. Point is that I couldn't listen anymore because I didn't like it. I was like, this book sucks. And I think it was because we were listening to all of the Magic 2.0 stuff then, and I was looking for a paranormal, supernatural, sci-fi angle. I was like trying to find it too much because I'm like, it's a Scott Meyer book. He writes about wizards. So obviously Sloane is an alien. So where is it happening? And so now that we've listened to it, I actually like it better than Magic 2.0. The only part I don't like about the book, I really don't like those two cops at the beginning. Like, they're just dicks. I really did not like that. I did not like that part. I think it's because I like Rutherford so much, but that part I was like, they're just being mean now.
Part of that, your dad's a cop as well.
My dad's a cop.
So you don't like it when cops are misrepresented.
No, just mistreated. I thought it was unnecessary. Anyway, yes.
Yeah.
Stoker and Rolls. That's what their names were.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, my least favorite part was probably Cap. Like, I wasn't a fan of his personality, the way that he was just so pushy and took liberties with people's lives and just assumed that they were gonna turn over their lives to him, and they did. And I'm a very big proponent of privacy and like free time and making your own choices. And every time he would speak, I just got like triggered because I was like, don't sign that contract without reading it. Are you stupid? And then sure enough, like,
Yeah.
and then people just kept doing what he said and trying to please him, and I'm like, fuck that guy. Like, I don't care how much money he has. I don't want to cater to him just because he's an eccentric millionaire. Anyway, so he was my least favorite part.
That's fair. And you know what? There are certain parts of Cap that I really don't like. But that being said, I think that's intentional so that you never know where you stand with him. Like he likes you, and you know what? He'll like you, but if you wrong him, he'll cut you and you're gone. And
yeah, it's conditional.
Yes.
Well, he says, during that interview part, he's like, his face drains, and he's like, I couldn't imagine what a smile coming from Cap would look like, even though I've been looking at it for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I'm interested to see one of the future questions that we get into, who everybody casts. So that's going to be a fun part. So for me, about this particular book, I was with Chris, and when I first listened to it, I was looking for that sci-fi angle of, this could be really cool. Of
Sloane's an alien.
Sloane's, I would, okay, that's got to be a T-shirt now.
Ninja.
But I thought, okay, with her being a ninja, okay, there's like some sort of backstory with this, and we do find her backstory, and we do. We might as well touch on that one. What did you think of that? What did you think of that scene when Rutherford sees her for the first time? Not the first time without her helmet on, I guess.
I thought it was perfect.
When she kind of pulls back she kind of pulls down the thing and scratches, and he's like, "Oh, she's been severely."
No,
with
the
helmet
helmet comes off.
Oh, the part where she okay.
Yeah.
I like
it was graphic, but it wasn't. It was just enough to be like, okay, I understand now.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. It was handled well.
Really well done. Like the flash forward to use that as a description.
Mm-hmm.
Pull back, because in that moment, he just handed her the helmet, and that was it.
Yeah, he hands her the helmet. They nod at each other, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so just to kind of circle back on that one, I liked how Max, here's the file, and here's the picture of Sloane. Mm-hmm. And if you ever ask for the helmet off again,
it's like asking for a picture of one of my female friends naked, there will be problems. And I was like, that is beautifully put. This is what she portrays to the world. This is her. This is my friend Megan Sloane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was very well done.
Yeah, I really liked it.
I thought it was brilliant.
It was nice.
Right.
Yeah, I thought initially when they started.
Sorry, Jennifer.
I was gonna say initially when they started giving her info out, I was like, this isn't cool. They're just like sharing her personal information without her knowing. And then when he said she asked him to, I was like, okay, that's better. But sense. Like first I was like, this is kind of funny. And then when he just had this weird obsession with her, until he found out. And I was like, dude, like, why can't you let this go?
Well, I will say, so growing up with my dad as a cop, I kind of have a detective mind, and I love mysteries, and I want to get to the bottom of them. So not seeing her face is kind of a mystery. And so I get the understanding, and Max even admits it too. If he was in his position, he probably would have asked as well, right? So, but they respectfully ended it and said, "Don't do it again." And I do like that. And, and you know what, Rutherford, to his credit,
leaves it alone.
He leaves it alone.
Yeah,
and after that moment, he doesn't obsess over it ever again or anything like that. So that was kind of interesting. So. Okay. Any other?
Next question.
All right. So we'll move on to the next question. So the question number 3 I had was, what other books did this remind you of?
Nothing that I've read. I'll be honest with you. This is straight like I said, a fish out of water / join a super team comedy action movie to me. I haven't read any other books like this, and I guess it may be one of those reasons that I love it so much.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't read too many detective crime novels either. Like the closest thing I had was like Da Vinci Code or Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, yeah.
They're a little off the mark, just a little.
Yeah, I don't read many of this genre, so I'm kind of with them. I don't really know.
I had and the only reason I put this was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy because of the motley crew that gets put together.
I could see that, yeah.
Yeah, just all these unlikely
Fish out of the water.
Yeah, unlikely characters being sort of put together. That was the only one. Other than that, I haven't read anything quite like this.
So, and I'm with you guys. I was struggling really hard to find something that I've read in the past that reminded me of this one. So, would you consider this style again? Maybe not by Luke Daniels. Is there another book that maybe? Scott Myers. Oh my God.
I was actually thinking that just now. I was like, would this be comedy mystery, or because I guess I need to look it up because I would look into something else like this. I have a bad feeling if it's not really good, I'll be disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've read a lot of like comedy books and like Troops and Groups and all that, but nothing with like the detective and mystery with it. The closest I could think of like for like a motley kind of crew would be like Red Dwarf. Just that group dynamic, it's kind of similar, but there's no real mystery or anything like that, which keeps the story going too.
For some reason, I thought you were going to say Scooby-Doo. I don't know why.
I was going to leave that for you. You're the Scooby-Doo man.
Okay, so I can't think of any books, but like movies.
Yeah.
Something like The Other Guys, or that reminds me of this. Where they're both like, well, at least one of them's a bumbling idiot, and one of them's like angry at him all the time, and so something like that. Or what's the other one that came out the same time with like Tracy Morgan and Bruce Willis?
God, that was horrible.
Yeah, but it's a similar setup where it's like a mismatched partner, and it's a comedy, but they're also doing a serious job. And anyways,
yeah, there you go. I like that. All right, so which characters in the book did you like the best then?
Ooh.
Eugene Stevens.
I'll be honest with you. I loved all the characters, but Megan Sloan. We've had this conversation before about some of Scott Myers' other books. Wondering specifically about how he writes women, and because some of them tend to come off kind of pushy, some of them tend to come off kind of pushy. Yeah. Megan Sloan is one of my favorite characters. Her dry wit and the fact she's just firing stuff off left and right. I'm like, oh my God, I want to be her when I grow up. Like that part where she's like, he's asking, well, I couldn't hear what was going on yesterday and y'all were laughing. And she's like, because I was making fun of you. And he's like, well, I'm sure they weren't all about me. And she lists them off. No, you said this and then I said this and then you said this and I said this. And I'm just like, this is fantastic.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the whole
laughing.
thing.
Laughing.
And I almost did that to you yesterday or the other day in the meeting, Jennifer. Something happened. I was going to go laughing and just see if you caught it.
People would have been like, what the hell?
Oh my God. I love Megan Sloan. I love the way, just the humor for her, the backstory that he's come up with her. And like Max says, he's like, she gets up every day and she shows that she's stronger than all of us. But I mean, Max is just, I don't want to talk about all the characters because I know y'all want to talk about characters too. I'll leave it at that. I'm just going to leave it at Megan and then I'll just chime in as y'all bring up the characters.
All right. Sean, you might as well go next.
I loved all the characters. They all had really great points. I think I liked Rutherford probably the most. And using that fish out of water kind of thing. But the thing is, you got to realize is Rutherford is the most normal of the whole group. It's everything else around him that is out of whack and all that. He's kind of the staple for the whole thing. And there were points where in the story, like he's getting beat up by a Cap or something, like he's accepting a lot of stuff. And I'm like, there's no freaking way that anyone would take that shit. but there it was, and you had the internal monologue in his head explaining why, and like you just wanted to bitch slap him. But so even with all that, I really enjoyed him as a character.
I did too.
Just helped that he was a main character, but it was out of all the characters, I'm going to put him on top of the list.
Jennifer?
I'm gonna go with Sloane. I mean, she's saying things that like I would have been thinking or wishing that I could have come up with that fast.
And the fact that she can say it to just the group is so I'm just like, oh God, I want that. I want to be able to do that.
And I loved the situations where they were questioning someone.
Yes.
And Rutherford was replying to her, but nobody could hear it. So they thought, and it ended up fitting the situation.
Yeah.
So everyone thought, or the person being questioned thought that they were talking to them. And yeah, that was great.
That guy gets it. Yeah.
God.
Me?
Yeah.
I have Rutherford, Max, Sloane in that order. That's all I got.
Okay, Max. Let's talk a little bit about Max.
Okay,
the whole scene where he's teaching the little girl about what frozen really means is fantastic.
The kids were in the car when we were listening to that, and Quinny was losing it.
I bet he was.
Best thing ever. That was hilarious.
His conspiracy theories.
It makes no sense.
I love them, but again, I love Sloane's explanation for them.
I do too, and that's the thing is it's just crazy enough. You're like, yeah, it kind of makes sense. If you make up enough bullshit, no one will know if you do accidentally slip up.
I've seen that in another story or another movie or something like that. I don't know if it was in Red or something like that.
It's John, I was just going to say,
you're
John
right.
Malkovich's character, because
that's
he's so
it.
paranoid, and Bruce Willis like he's really that paranoid, and some of them it's justified.
Thank you, Chris, because that was driving me nuts the last
Sorry,
3 days.
dude. You're welcome.
Also, the way he takes down people, like you were talking about how this is not a violent book, and even the most violent parts of the book are not violent at all, and I love that. Like
the way
that
he
is
deals
just
with that homeless man.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Careful.
Careful. Now you're down on the ground. Just so happy about this thing.
Well, and then here's your money. Oh, you're gonna take the money from me? Oh, now you get to go to jail.
Like Canadian ninjutsu.
Yes.
That's what would happen.
And then Rutherford, him describing it as the first moment that you think you're being attacked is when you wake up in the hospital.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I personally, my first read through, like my first listen through, Max was my favorite. My second time through was Sloane, just because I really enjoyed that story and everything. Those two made the book for me. Rutherford was great, and he's a great character to tie everybody with. But those two are the ones that made it for me. So,
yeah, I really like Max too.
Okay, so I mean, I love the fact that Albert is, wanting him to be his Bond, and it takes him a while to catch on, and then when he does, he's just delighted. Yes. But Professor Sherwood, I love Professor Sherwood. Just, he gets a little peeved off, and he's just like, "Are you allergic to bees?"
Yes, I am. And he's all
people.
disappointed. I love when yes, I am allergic to it. He's all disappointed. He puts the thing back on.
I just keep picturing during those scenes, like thinking in my head, how is this not going to get them sued? They're spraying people down without consent. They're sticking bees on them. I'm like, this is so not like something that people could get away with, in the actual world.
They don't. They get sued.
Well, but
But that being said, wouldn't Cap want that? Wouldn't Cap want to have to pay somebody off to stay quiet?
Exactly.
Because then you got the hint that something's going on, and they paid them off a lot of money to not say anything. So that's exactly what Cap would want.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when he talks about, the Seattle PD wants to work with him afterward to look about using bees for riot suppression, one of the characters goes, "That's horrifying," and I'm like, "Yeah, that is horrifying." Can you imagine walking out into a group of people and being like, "Disperse," or we were releasing bees? Everybody would shut up and walk away.
Yeah.
Stop or we'll release the bees. God, I love that part in the book. It's so fun. All right. So I'm going to move on. I asked question 5. I kind of want to end with question 5. That's the whole casting. I think I want to end with that one. So we're going to move on to question number 6, which is if you get the chance to ask the author one question, hopefully we get Scott. Because I said Scott.
I know. I'm looking at Scott.
Yeah, Scott, come back on because we love this book. I'd really like to chat with you about it, and maybe if there's a sequel, you could announce it or something. But anyway, so if you do have one question, what would it be? And Jen, I'm going to start with you on this one.
I think I would just ask, what made you think of using bees as a weapon? Because the whole time I was like, you guys, I was like, this is really weird, but it's ingenious. And also, how did you train them so well? And how did, like so many questions. But yeah, this is one of those Scott Meyer things where you're like, it's a genius idea, but how did you come up with it? And nobody else has before.
I like it.
Yeah.
My question would be about researching the technology. Because if you remember during our conversation, he didn't mention anything specifically about doing a second book, but he did drop some knowledge on us about how Target has the world's best
investigative team,
private investigative team in the world. And we're like, how would you know that? And
he didn't want to get away.
And it's of course research towards his books. So the technology stuff, all that's the funny thing is all the technology in the book is yes a little futuristic, but not by much. Like it's not a super big stretch by any means, including the Stevenson steam auto. Like, I'm like, okay, yeah, instead of just going straight electric, why not make a freaking steam powered car?
That car sounded just scary. Like it just
had to descale.
Oh, yeah. I wanted that van.
No.
I wanted that van so bad.
My favorite scene was when Vanessa was standing outside, like yelling at him. And then the next part,
get in the car.
We were sitting in the car for a conversation.
It's after the steam goes through. Now, listen, I don't know if anybody's heard steam being released like this before.
Oh, I have. I've been around locomotives.
So,
locomotives.
Yeah, locomotives mean nothing, eh, Sean? 3 million horsepower going out that roof. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Okay, so yeah, Sean, we'll go with you.
I would just do a general question. What was the writing process for this particular book? Because I don't know how these authors do they like start with the ending and work their way back, or do they do like a framework of like the mystery and then just kind of fill stuff in as they go? I'm really curious about how he came up with this particular one, especially like the ending. Like it wasn't a crazy mystery or anything like that. But I wanted to know what his thought processes were for creating it.
I that's a great question. I do remember us asking something similar with Magic 2.0, and I don't know if you guys remember, but he did say that he had a few specific scenes in his head, and he did say that about the authorities as well, where he had a couple of scenes in his head that he'd really like to get out, and then he kind of fit his story around it. But I'd love for him to explain that more with the authorities to kind of flesh it out a little bit better. So, yeah, yourself.
No, a sequel. That's it.
That's the best question.
Yes, the most important one.
Well, so I'll tie into that one. My question for Scott would have been, so because he lived in Seattle and because he used his knowledge so well of that city in that book, where would he take the team next would be my question. Obviously he likes writing about cities or locations that he's visited and he knows well. So I'd be curious as to where he would take the team next. So
Austin,
by
Texas.
That logic, I know he lives in like Tucson, Arizona, or something like that. So I could see him taking him there. So
yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
that'd be interesting. So, all right.
I'd love to see that van function in Tucson, Arizona heat.
Oh my God, yes.
That'd be amazing. Sorry.
just the humidity goes up
Evaporate.
even more.
It would just evaporate.
I was gonna say
No
it wouldn't even
water.
blow anything out. It would you just hear a sound and you just be like, no different.
Yeah.
Man, would it even work then? I guess would be. All right, the next one we have is which character do you most relate to? I'm gonna start with you.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's not really one character. It's more the dynamic between Vanessa and Rutherford. As an older sister, I feel like if I saw one of my siblings on YouTube, it would be like, what the actual fuck are you doing? Like, it would be like, I'd be on their butt. I would show up, knock on their door, scare the crap out of them. It would be like, what are you doing?
Would you use words or just exclamation points?
No, I
and
would use words. It would be,
punctuation.
yeah, it wouldn't be punctuation. It would be it would be a lot of swear words. And if they didn't answer me, it would be me driving to their place and like basically chewing them out.
But I'm glad you brought that up, Jen, because I loved that dynamic because you could feel the sister-brother relationship just through that moment alone.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It was I really like that part.
Yeah.
And that's a tiny little nitpicky thing, but it adds so much to the story.
Yes.
The fact that it's thought out that I can see a brother and sister just like that. All they do is just like
Well, me and my sister, all we do is talk through gifts. Like we don't really have actual conversations much.
See,
anymore
exactly.
through gifts. So I could see if I had seen, because I'm the oldest of 4, if I had seen any of my baby sisters do crap like that, it would be like just immediately on their ass about what the hell we're doing with their life. Yeah.
Especially getting hit with a fist. I'd be like, Sean, what are you doing, man? Like, well, you downtown Port Elgin.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Sean.
I really would relate most to Albert. I grew up watching Bond movies. It was the only time I could like stay up past my bedtime with my dad because there was like a Bond movie on every week because there's so many of them, and it was always Q that I was looking forward to see. It wasn't Bond or anything like that. It was like, what does Q have this time? And yeah, for years, I grew up like that, so I can really relate to that. The crappy things that happened to Rutherford, though, I can relate to that stuff too.
Yeah.
Not the fist, but
yeah. Eugene?
As much as I love like Sloane and Max and stuff, I relate most to Rutherford just mainly because it's crap just keeps happening to him, and he's trying to be a good guy about it, and the fact that I just love the fact that he's being told, no, we need you to be a jerk. And he's just like, that's not my nature, but okay, I guess, or whatever. And he can't help it. It seeps out. And I relate to that because I'm not the most outgoing person. And so I will get in situations where I'll sit there and I'll go to fix someone's computer and I'll sit there and think, you know what, maybe I should say something to them. Hey, how are you doing? Because I'm perfectly fine. Just come in, sit down, fix the computer. And I do. I know it's weird, but whatever. So I understand that, having to kind of coach yourself on.
But at least you're conscious about it and willing to engage. Because some people would just be like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Type.
Guys talking. Just ignore them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Rutherford, who I relate to the most, but yeah.
So, and I'm with you there too, because especially in some of my past jobs, I worked for security at the nuclear plant near us for a little while. And when I worked there, there were times where you'd have to act more like a jerk, which was not me. I've actually had people come up to me afterwards and said, I didn't realize you were a nice guy, because I had to just be stone-faced for them. And it's a persona that I don't wear it well.
I don't like it.
Well, I like our friend Jennifer suffer from RBF, and it's something that I have to work on. I have to think. I'm just standing here. Maybe I should smile. I guess.
Oh, don't do that.
So
Then it looks painful because you're
yeah,
hurting
that's
yourself.
true.
Right on. All right. The next one that I had here for us was, how well do you think the author built the world? And we've kind of touched on that a few times. I was just curious if there's any specifics that popped out in your head. Eugene, we'll start with you on this one.
Oh, I mean, I've never been to that part of the country, but like you said, his description, just it comes to life. Like he talks about the fact that, in most places in the country, you have to work to get plants to grow, and in Seattle, it's just the opposite. You have to work to keep them from overtaking everything. And I can automatically picture that. But his whole description of, like you said, how the city was built and how traffic is constantly going everywhere. I can see that in my head. It's just, he did such a good job of building out this part of the country I've never actually been to. I mean, I've heard a lot about, and of course, there are a lot of movies that are filmed in that area. So it was very easy to picture it from his descriptions.
Yeah. Jen?
Yeah, I think he did a good job. Living there helps, and knowing the intricacies of the city and the history. But, even the things that he doesn't directly interact with, like the law enforcement world and all that, I think he did a decent job of setting it up and making it seem realistic, even though some of the stuff they were doing was a little out there. Millionaire getting permission to, interfere with a perfectly good crime scene. Like, come on, is that really happening? Yeah.
Well, money.
Right.
Sean?
Yeah, I thought the world he built was great. Like, even the stuff that was, like, to me, the most far-fetched thing was, well, two things. One, the billionaire get permission to go screw around with active crime scenes. Yeah, that was like, okay, I can set that aside. But even like his steam-powered vehicles, like he based it off of a specific van, which I looked up so I could see it. And like, he didn't trick it out or anything too much. It actually, like, here's a van, everything cool is inside of it. So he didn't have to explain it or whatever. So that helped build the world in my mind. I also looked up the gun.
Oh, yeah, the gun.
Yeah.
That was actually a little harder to find, though. Like, I found one picture of it. Like,
I found tons.
What's it called again?
The Cosmonaut gun.
Yeah.
Something. But I did find it. But I was able to Google, and like what I couldn't fill in with my head. I'm not used to these gun things. I don't know.
Yeah. That was
a monster, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I couldn't figure out. I was able to find. So the rest of the world, it was great.
Yeah.
I concur with everything everybody has said. And yes, that is what she said, Jen.
Yes.
But even creating Sloan, though, like, adapted bodysuit helmet, all that. I mean, that was pretty cool.
I agree with everybody's points there. And Eugene, you'd mentioned something that I actually wrote down for this part, and that is, I could see this being set within the next 5 years, right? I could see that the technology he's talking about is set within the next 5 years, that it would become more available in the way that he talks about. So maybe
drones with freaking laser beams, already have them.
Lasers on their head.
And he just tosses them in the air. And I love
bees with lasers.
The bees with lasers. Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah. But something else that I thought was kind of funny, and it makes me think of you now, Sean, especially knowing that you relate to Albert. I could see Deb's influence and making sure that all of them were at the same pitch, so that it wouldn't be so hard on your ears.
That's awesome.
Yeah, my wife teaches music lessons all the time here and all that, and she's constantly singing. I can so see her doing that, like that would be like having tunes and stuff. Like that.
I could see that.
Sorry, I had to throw that one out there. So
that's awesome.
All right. So if you were to write a fan fiction about this book, what kind of story would you want to tell? Jen, I'm curious about this one for you. So.
I would want to either do like Adventures of the Professor and the Bees, because I just can't get off of this, right? Or just like some backstory for Sloane, like, you know, her years as a cop before would be kind of cool, and kind of see her in action before she, you know, was injured.
Yeah. Sean, you got one?
Yeah, I thought of one, like, get Cap caught up in like a massive accident that kills a whole bunch of people, or like a terrorist attack or something like that, and then have the team have to clear him without the ability to like cut through the legal tape and all that. But thinking about it, that something like that is almost too serious for that group. Like, I'm thinking the last 5 minutes, I'm like, man, first attack would not be something along this lines. I think it was too serious. Like maybe an accident that gets blamed on Cap or his company or something like that. But it takes him out of the play, and then they have to clear him. And then you have the real question, do we want to clear his friggin' rich ass? But I need to tone it down, because the stuff I'm thinking of is a little bit more serious than what Jesus should be.
But that can be okay for.
It's hard to find humor in a terrorist attack.
Yes.
Like any joke you make,
a little bit,
it's overshadowed. So I don't think I thought that one through.
Well, maybe the Steam drive gets put out there, and one block does the catalyst too many times. Like, so too many cars do the catalyst all at once, and it causes some sort of
hole in the ozone layer.
Yeah.
Oh. Already got one of those. Thank you.
It's a plume of steam.
That's for our other show. Sustainably. There you go. Chris?
I would want to probably write something about Max's time in the Dutch intelligence.
Oh, yeah.
What that would have been like in his training, and what led him to be sort of this really happy-go-lucky assassin.
Conspiracy theorist.
You know, I think that'd be kind of like a fun little adventure.
Start him off all like serious and shit.
No, that he was
Bond meets Goldfinger or something like that.
Yeah, like he was always this happy.
Gold member.
Gold member, yeah. So he was always this happy-go-lucky kid, and then just sort of that personality meshing in with this assassin sort of mentality.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Eugene?
I want to see continuing escapades with the group, but Sherwood has moved on. He's only supposed to be with the group for a short period of time.
Yeah.
He's going to have to show back up. Like they're going to have to run into a situation, and maybe he has to come along to scan something. Yeah, and I thought, okay, well, you know, not to plan it all out, but we would need a new character to fill in, and it would be someone that's like, okay, well, I'm doing some other kind of research or whatever. And I thought maybe the twist on that one would be the person who's filling in with them is actually the murderer or whoever it is they're looking for. So you know that would be an interesting twist. But you know, seeing the team is working a lot better. You know, they've gotten several, you know, maybe year or so under their belt or whatever, and then having to do something that they have to pull the old team back together to figure out what's going on would be interesting. So
yeah, he's training wasps.
Yeah, just different enough. I don't think you can train wasp. Like,
no, they're assholes.
Yeah, that's nature's asshole.
It's like training a cat.
It's cats with wings.
Cats with wings.
That's true.
For myself, I thought about the origins of Max. I thought that'd be really cool. I love that they're a mystery, though, and I would hate for that to be explained. Just because I love, he's so crazy that he throws these crazy theories out all the time, and I love that he stops himself at one point where he's like, "I've gone too far."
Home ownership is all a big hoax.
Yeah.
Then why do you own your house? I don't want them to know I'm on it.
Yes.
3 computers. I mean, come on.
Yes, the one. Yeah. Anyway, so I thought about that one, and then what I actually picked was I'd flesh out Cap a little bit more, And then maybe he was bullied as a kid, and it's kind of why he's a bit of a prick because of that. And then I thought, well, how much fun it would be that he's actually like a Batman character. And so this is his persona that he does for, and he puts on the show, but he's actually he's a great detective.
He's actually Sloane.
Sloane is a drone. No.
Sloane's an alien.
But yeah, I thought it'd be fun that he's actually, because it's fan fiction, who gives a shit? So he's Batman. Yeah, and that's his facade. So, all right. So we did touch on Magic 2.0, and so the question I threw for the group was, how would you link this book to Magic 2.0, or would you even do that? And so Sean, I'll start with you on that one.
I probably wouldn't do it. I would leave them separate. Having almost identical voices is close enough. But no, the stories hold well on their own. And there's too much potential to screw up either one of the series. So yeah, I'd keep them separate.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
I agree. I'm just going to jump in and say I agree.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want to see this chocolate and peanut butter are fine by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
Same.
Jen? Yeah.
I don't think I'd mix worlds. Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree.
Well, I'm going to go.
Dissent?
I'm going to go in the word and just disagree a little bit. I would love, especially if there was a TV series on this one, I would love for them to just hint that it's in the same world. So you don't see any of the main characters from Magic 2.0, but you do see Miller and Murphy in some aspect, or you see that there's missing persons of the actual main characters from Magic 2.0, right? There's a report saying this person's been missing for X number of years, and
little Easter eggs.
Little Easter eggs.
That would be fine, yeah.
But that's as far as I would go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go any further.
No, you wouldn't want to.
Or even like a report. Hey, we got this report from Miller and Murphy. We got to figure it out, or something along those lines. Just hints. So
that would be acceptable, honey.
Okay.
We accept your submission.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. All right. So this is the final question that I have for the group is casting, and so I asked everybody to come up with would they make it a movie, or if they would be a Netflix or an HBO series, and then who would they cast in each of the roles for Rutherford, Sloane, Max, Cap, Albert, Professor Sherwood, and Terry Wells. That's kind of the ones that we kind of came up with. If you didn't come up with all of them, that's great. If you did, whatever you need. So how do we want to do this? Do we want to do it each of us by each character or all of the list?
I didn't cast anyone. I'll be honest with you. I'm horrible at casting. The only one I could throw out, and I've got to look for it here in a second. So just however you want to do it,
casting. This is my favorite question.
Yeah,
really?
This is mine too. Yeah, just do the whole.
Do the whole thing.
List.
Okay, that sounds good. Jen, did you come up with any?
Yeah, I got some.
Okay.
I mean, I've got somebody for each one that may or may not be good, but
we'll find out.
So what do we decide? Are we going one by one, or
your whole list?
Okay, should I go first?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So I have, who should I start with? Let's start with Max. I'm seeing Max as like a Liam Neeson character because he is good cop, bad cop in Lego Movie.
That's true.
So he can be that friendly, jovial, mean guy. Also, he can kick ass, and I could just see him doing it with a smile on his face, like, "Hey, how's it going?" He just needs to change his accent up a little. For Sinclair, I don't know. I'm seeing it as someone kind of goofy, like T.J. Miller.
Oh Lord.
He could be like confused and funny and goofy. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Professor, I have Terry Crews.
Yeah.
Terry Crews.
He just seems like he could get real serious about the bees, like bees.
Release the bees. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but then he's also like this really deep, insightful guy.
Yeah.
Because he's played characters like that.
I could just see him with a little squirt bottle.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't he just
I'm allergic to bees?
For Sloane, we don't really see her, so I don't think casting someone would make a difference. But if we do a flashback, I'm seeing like a J-Law character, badass female, has attitude.
Mm-hmm.
So, or backstory series, something. What's the supervisor's name?
Terry Wells.
Terry. So I'm thinking like Taraji Henson.
Oh yeah.
She can be really mean, and she can be like, really sweet when she turns it on, and so yeah, that's who I pick for her. Albert Donald Glover.
Oh yeah,
he's kind of been that like disorganized, disheveled, smart guy in The Martian, was it right?
Yeah, The Martian.
So he kind of plays that character. And then for Cap, I don't know, someone that could play a good asshole, like I don't know, Dustin Hoffman or.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't think.
Yeah.
I also was kind of thinking Morgan Freeman, but because he can do both, and not so mean. But I don't know if I want to see Morgan Freeman in that light, because I like him and his voice. Anyways, so that's what I got.
He's played the asshole before, so
he has, yeah.
I like that cast. That's good.
That's a good one.
So HBO movie or Netflix?
I'd say Netflix series. They could do a lot of stories. I think what we saw was one episode, and then we could see like a lot more goofy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, spin-offs. I don't know about director. I don't really.
No. We don't need to go that far. So, Eugene, so you said you had one that you were thinking of?
I only had one person like jump to mind. And I would cast Chi McBride for Professor Sherwood.
Oh yeah.
I could see him, playing that role of, a little bit, he can be a little bit gruff, but for the most part, he's just kind of not arrogant, but when he gets his mindset, like that's it, and I'm sure the bees will be vindicated.
Yeah.
That was the only casting. And as for the other part of the question, definitely a Netflix series. And I see it just the opposite. The first book is the first season. Like an episode is going to go visit the 20-something-year-old comedian or whatever, and having to deal with him and all of the insanity that goes with them. And yeah. So. But yeah, like I said, I'm horrible at casting, and but that was the only one that popped in my mind. I was like, I think he would be good for this role. So.
Who would we cast as that guy? The douchebag comedian.
Jack Black.
No, because he's young. He's in his 20s.
Aspiring, yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to find someone.
I didn't think about those characters.
Pete Davidson.
Who's that?
He's on SNL. He was the one that was briefly engaged to Ariana Grande.
Oh, okay.
Him.
I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, him. I could see him.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to jump in here and do mine because I'm really looking forward to Sean and Chris's. So, got to make you wait just a little bit more. So for Rutherford, I picked one of two. I couldn't figure, but Freddie Highmore, who was the kid in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. He's a bit older now. He could pull off that, like he's small and slender, and
is he still doing stuff?
Yeah. He has that show where he plays an autistic doctor. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh yeah, The Good Doctor.
The Good Doctor.
Oh yeah, okay, I know what show you're talking about. Yeah.
So a bit older, but he can still play that young guy. So
yeah, he's got a young face.
And then the other one that I picked was Harry Styles. Now he's a bit taller than I would want. He's from Dunkirk, and then
One Direction.
That guy. But he's a very slight frame, and it's so when a book mentions how the person is physically, I find it very important, especially in this story. So I kind of wanted to stick to that, and with him having that slight frame, still being able to do action movies, I thought that'd be kind of a good one. Sloane, I picked Monique Gannerton, and she's a Canadian stunt actress. She's done multiple movies. She's done I'm drawing a blank, but she's done pretty much any action movie right now that has a female lead or even a female action star in it. She's in it. You can look her up. She's tall. She's about 5'11". But I picture Sloane as a very slender person, and I was trying to tell Chris, I picture her slender not because of, first of all, in the book, all the guys are looking at her, so that's one thing. But the other thing is that because of her condition, she obviously can't eat very much, and so, and because of her accident, I figured she's got a very slight frame as well. So that's why.
What was her last name?
Ganderton, Ganderton.
Okay, I'm looking her up.
Yep. For Max, Yorick Van.
You had to pick that dude.
Yes, I did.
You can't pronounce his last name.
Wagon. Anyway, this guy's from the girl with the dragon tattoo. The reason why I picked him was because
hold on a second.
Sorry.
I gotta jump off. Sorry.
Okay. So the reason why I picked him, he's from the girl with the dragon tattoo. The reason why I picked him was because he is Dutch, and I thought that would be, he's got the accent already, but he's done an action film as well where I can't remember the name of it, but it's a Dutch movie, and he's a little overweight. He's a little, he's got a beard and stuff, but man, he goes into a kick-ass mode where he beats the shit out of somebody. And so I thought he could pull that off really well.
Yeah, I mean, they describe him as Santa Claus before he let himself go, so that sounds perfect.
Yeah, so Cap, I picked Jeremy Piven, who's from Entourage. He's the Area Gold, or is that Area Gold? Anyway, complete asshole, and he pulled it off so well.
Because he's a bit of a dick in real life.
That's what I've heard. Albert, I went with a bit of a gender swap with Albert. I picked Shiori Katsuna. She's from Deadpool 2. She's the Hi Wade.
Okay,
yeah. So I picked her. I thought it would be good to just change it up a little bit there. I could see her being a tech wizard and her just kind of tying into that. And I thought that'd be kind of a fun character to add to this one. So Professor Sherwood, I had Danny Glover. I'm too old for this shit. That's all I could picture.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just walking around with his little wand, and he's waving it over. Well, I see what you have in your pocket.
But he was older, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why I picked Danny Glover.
Danny Glover. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be good too.
And that's why I picked, though. I thought it'd be fun to see him you could almost picture him in a walker, for crying out loud. Terry Wells, I went with Nia Long, and she's from, I don't know if you remember her, she's from Fresh Prince. I wanted to pick somebody that could flash a smile that is dangerous. And she does that very well. So she's the one that she's the girlfriend of Will Smith for a bit. So and then what I did was because Disney Plus is coming out, Netflix needs a real big hit, and I thought this could be their big hit, and they're going to need a series to kind of help them out to keep subscribers. So I wanted to pick Netflix for them to pick it and make a series, and I thought that would be kind of a fun one. So let's go with you.
Me.
We're gonna make Sean just wait a little bit more.
Okay. So for Rutherford, I'm like Ray. If an author has gone out of the way to mention the character's height and build more than one time, it's obviously kind of an important character feature. So for me, he had to be short dude. So I picked Daniel Radcliffe or Tom Holland. Kind of leaning more Tom Holland because he's got that baby face, but he's, he could chase somebody down. For Max, I picked Christoph Waltz because, it's Christoph Waltz. How could he not? He's got such a charming face, but he's played some really, really shitty people. So, he could pull it off. For Sloane, like Ray said, I picture her as being slight because she's got the prosthetics and probably not really being able to eat a whole lot of food just based on her injuries.
Logistics.
Yeah. And that I pictured Zoe Saldana or Gal Gadot just being kind of Leith looking. And then Cap, I picked Patton Oswalt just because
Patton Oswalt would be a hilarious
It would
Cap.
be great.
yeah, he'd be really good. 'Cause again,
Yeah.
he turn on that charm, but he can look at you and basically tell you to fuck off with his eyes, right? And then for Albert, I did a gender swap, and I picked Palm Clementif, and she played Mantis.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she's also Canadian. For Professor Sherwood, the moment I heard Luke Daniels' version of Professor Sherwood, all I could think of was Kingsley Shacklebolt from Harry Potter. So that's all I had in my head. So the actor's name is George Harris. He's just this kind of big, imposing black dude who's got this really deep voice. And then for Terry Wells, I picked, I'm going to screw up her last name. Her name is Danae Gurira. And she played I think she was in The Walking Dead. And then she also played the head of the army in Black Panther. I just thought she was super badass.
Oh,
but
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah,
She'd be
I
good
thought
too.
she was pretty
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
So that's it.
And Netflix series, HBO.
Oh, Netflix series, obviously.
Yeah.
Yes. Movie would not be enough. Just like this one book is not enough.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Sean. I'm excited to hear this one. Let's hear it.
well, first off, I'd start off with Netflix series, 100%. There's so much potential.
Come on, Netflix, get on it.
Yeah, come on. They might be. Who knows? So Sinclair, right off the bat, Elijah Wood.
Yeah, I was thinking about him
That'd be
too.
good.
Yeah.
Only thing I have a little bit of a problem with is Elijah Wood's already done a series like this on Netflix, Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You guys have seen it?
No.
I've heard of it.
I haven't seen it. No.
Okay.
I've heard it's good.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's pretty out there, but he can pull that character off perfectly. He has the right body frame for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Has great facial expressions.
Mm-hmm. Those giant eyes.
Yeah.
Be perfect.
He would have a hard time looking like an asshole.
Yeah.
Cap, I have John Cusack.
Yeah, he'd be a good Cap.
Yeah.
Mainly picked him. Like he has a dick face sometimes and all that. But he can be smiling a lot, but he's about the right age too. Just from what they're talking about the tech era and stuff like that. He might be a little bit young, but throw some gray in his hair and he'll be good. But he's got that manic acting ability, and I see that in the story with Vince. Terry Wells.
I can see a shirt with his face on it, and it just says he has a dick face ... sometimes.
Terry Wells, I had Zoe Saldana. I think she would be really good for that role because she's also about the right age, have kids, and magnificent actress. Megan Sloan. I just have a petite actress that is an amputee. Why cast someone that isn't an amputee in that role? Make it an amputee, but yeah, a small frame. Best. And then have like the voice of Siri or something like that.
Yeah. Yes.
Voices where you could really have a little bit more fun with it. Albert, I used Ezra Miller.
Oh, he'd be good, Albert.
Flash.
Yeah.
You can see him when he's acting on it because even in the Flash, he's almost like a big kid, and I really got that from Albert in the show or in the book. Max, I got Rutger Hauer.
You were thinking of them.
I was,
too.
yeah.
That was the first, actually, of all of them. Well, no, I got Elijah Wood first, but sure was my second one. He has the accent already.
Yeah.
Little beard on him. He's badass still.
He looks good with a beard.
I can just see him telling those stories. And it was like, yeah, that's an easy one. And Professor Sherwood, I have LeVar Burton.
Oh.
LeVar Burton would be pretty good.
Yeah.
Good.
That's a good one.
The one, because there's he's Watson in Star Trek TNG in a couple episodes.
Yes, he does.
Him kind of doing that thing. But I love art. Makes everything better.
I agree.
I like that one too.
You can learn something too. We could have a book or something at the end of it.
A book about bees.
I should have done all the extra characters because there really isn't that many characters in this series.
No, there isn't.
Yeah.
I also didn't actually listen to the book up until like a few days ago, so I didn't have a lot of time.
So who would be the killer? I'm
Tyler.
picturing serious stoic guy.
Tyler.
Really mean looking. Well, really, I don't know.
I see him as an imposing figure too, right? Like he's a taller.
Yeah.
I just thought of Tom Hiddleston.
It's a good one.
A little bit crazy. Yeah.
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 But
I just love that.
Therapist.
I love that scene where they finally drop the hammer on him, the back and forth, and then once again, Sloan with the best comment. This is great. You're doing all of the work, and I'm going to get all the credit. And of course, he looks back at her, and
I was convinced for a while that that guy and the wife were having an affair, and
me too.
Maybe they were in on it together.
Yeah.
And then I thought maybe it was the interior designer because he started going that route, and I obviously am not a good detective, but.
But you know what though? I think that was the point. Is you didn't know who it was going to be, right? And that way they had enough people to question.
Yeah.
But the time that they ended it all and they wrapped it all up, you saw exactly where it all went. So.
But I did get the feeling that conversation was going to have a part later because it seemed so innocuous and just like the point they were trying to make was that he couldn't do his job and take it seriously and just focus. But I kind of thought, that's probably going to come back later. And it did, just in a different way.
Yes. Yeah. And it did. It's just not the way that people were suspecting, which is,
Can I switch out one of mine real quick? As y'all were talking, I'm thinking Donald Gleason would be a good Sinclair because...
I have such a crush on Donald Gleason.
So do I.
Oh, he's
Irish.
I love him. Stupid, inappropriate.
Tall, lanky. Yeah.
I just do. It's everything about Donald. He's like at the top of my list.
Right.
Oh, he's on the list? Okay. I need to know that he's on the list.
The list.
Yeah.
That list.
Yes, you have to declare the list beforehand. Like you can't,
That's right.
You can't change.
Substitutions can be made, but there needs to be at least a 40-hour. No.
24 hours. I'll get 24 hours.
24 hours.
Right on. Does anybody have anything that we haven't touched on in the book that they wanted to talk about? Because I really enjoyed this one, and I want to make sure everybody gets. Go ahead.
One thing.
Yeah.
So I was a little disappointed that we didn't get to see Sinclair show up those two asshole detectives in the beginning.
Oh, I would have really liked that.
I thought for sure when he got this job, there was going to be a scene where he ran into them again, and they just totally got shut down and treated like shit like they treated him, and didn't see it happen. And I was a little upset about that. So.
Sequel.
Yeah.
I was kind of wondering about, like a sequel about the relationship between Cap and Sloan. I'm kind of leaning towards
father.
Sloan was like either a family member of Cap or helped Cap, or they were friends when they were younger or something like that. Because he designed built this whole team around Sloan.
Yeah.
And that's something I'd like to kind of explore.
Yeah, that was a big piece of information. So hopefully
it seemed like it at the time.
Yeah, I'd be curious to talk to Luke about that, or Luke.
Scott.
Another question for the author.
Yeah. At least, at minimum, she at least has to be a friend or something, because it's
like she's a brilliant detective in her own right, ran up the ranks and all that. Well, he was also brilliant in creating the software and stuff like that. So it wouldn't be too far out of the realm of possibility that they were family members.
Yeah.
Well, what if he was like a victim in that accident that she was in, or he was connected to one of the cases she had, and she saved him or something? That would be kind of
that could be.
That would be, you know what? I could see that.
But there's definitely a strong connection.
See, we're feeding the sequel story already.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Well, does anybody have anything else to add?
It's a good book.
Besides going through individual scenes, no.
Right on. And you know what? We could spend hours going through every scene and everything we loved, and I'm sure we will discuss that maybe on back channels or on other times. But anyway, I hope you guys really enjoyed the book. I hope that you guys enjoyed the new format. It's a little bit different than what we normally do. Just trying on a new hat, seeing how things go. If you liked it and you actually did enjoy the new format, let us know. You can give us a 5-star rating. Make sure that you hit it on wherever you're watching, and wherever you're watching or listening, because we are on YouTube as well. The 5-star rating helps because it gets us out there and it helps kind of spread the word. And I'd love to spread the word on this book because I'd love a sequel. So
selfishly, I would like you to.
That's right. So we are part of a bigger network. We are part of Epically Geeky, and we do have an Epically Geeky show coming up this weekend. We just recorded a Sustainably Geeky last night. So coming out later this week?
Once I get it edited and
okay, right on. So right on. Look for that to be coming out soon too. Sean, I'm going to start with you on this one, but I have a question. First of all, are you reading anything lately?
I'm still going through Battlefield Earth. I've forgotten how long that book is. Loving it, and I think I'm almost done. This is like my 3rd time through it, but it's been several years, so highly recommend it if you have a lot of time.
Yeah.
How long is it?
If you're listening to it, over 48 hours.
Holy fuck.
It's by entire ensemble, so it's not one person reading it. It's got a huge cast. It actually won a lot of awards. But the story goes on and on and on. Like what you thought was like the main story is only like part 1 of like 4. So it's really good, and it doesn't drag you into Scientology like everyone keeps saying. But Eugene gets me here. L. Ron Hubbard wrote the book, is the creator of Scientology. It is an excellent read. I read the book itself and also listening to it on Audible right now. He made me back up the speed a little bit to get through it a little faster. Yeah, that's what I'm listening to right now.
Right on. And where can we find you?
In your shadow.
Well, I do cast a large shadow, so.
Oh, God.
I'm on Epically Geeky every now and then, and look for me on Facebook or whatever. I'm around.
Right on.
In Canada.
In Canada, somewhere. Eugene, are you reading anything lately?
I've actually had, because of all of the work on the floors, I have been rereading a ton of stuff. I won't go through all that stuff, but the new things that I read, a while back, I read 2 of the 3 books of a Stephen King series. It's kind of a small trilogy. The first one was Mr. Mercedes. It's about a guy that he takes a car and kills a bunch of people waiting in line at this job fair and gets away with it essentially. And after the head detective retires, he contacts him and he's like, well, guess what, asshole? You didn't catch me, so I got off scot-free. And it gives the detective a reason to live again. Like literally, it talks about he's sitting there playing with a gun, just watching television, and he's like, I don't have anything else to live for. And now he's like, no, screw it, you are not getting away. The second book ties a little bit into it. It's almost like he had another story going and just kind of tied it into this one. The second one is Finders Keepers, and then I'd read both of those a while back, and I don't know why something snapped in my head, and I was like, I don't think I ever read the third one. Well, sure enough, I hadn't. And so I finally read End of Watch, and it's not bad it's just kind of a little mini Stephen King trilogy. So I like Stephen King's writing, but I enjoyed it. So
right on. And where can we find you?
Oh, let's see here. You can find me at Epically Geeky. You can also find me on the Marginally Geeky show. You can also find me at a booth at EGX, which is happening May 17th to the 19th at
you can.
Central Texas College. Seriously,
tickets on sale right now?
Tickets
Killeen,
are
Texas.
on sale. You can go to Epically Geeky and get click the link there to get to the tickets, or you can look up Epically Geeky Expo, and that should take you there as well. And then, as always, you can follow my individual wacky adventure online at Optimus Gene. It's been nothing but flooring stuff, but I'm about to switch back over and hopefully finish up some other projects, like my proton pack that's literally sitting right here.
Adventures in Adulting.
Adventures in Adulting. Yes.
Right on. Well, and the floors do look good.
Yeah, they look great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jen, what have you been reading lately?
Okay, so I wasn't on last month, and I don't remember if I've already mentioned at least one of these books. So in February, I listened to Becoming by Michelle Obama, which is awesome, and she narrates it, and it's inspirational and just great. And I also listened to Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. I keep doing
Trevor
that.
Noah. Yeah.
Trevor Noah. Yeah. I keep switching his both first names. So hilarious read, very quick, like, I don't know, under 10 hours, maybe even 5 or 6. But he narrates it, of course, and it's a little sad at times because it's about his childhood growing up and some of the stuff he went through, but he infuses humor into it. And his voice is just great. So
I so wanted to jump in there and say, so it just proves that his old man was a dummy because he has 2 first names.
Right.
Sorry.
And then I actually have already finished next month's book. I kind of read them backwards because I had already started on that when I suggested it, and then we picked this one, so I've got a head start. So yeah, that's what I've done. I've set a goal for myself this year to read at least or listen to at least 2 books a month, and knock on wood, like so far I'm meeting that, but we'll see what April holds because I haven't started any. So yeah, and you can find me online at Epically Geeky, here of course Marginally Geeky, and Sustainably Geeky, our newest podcast on the channel. I'm also on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Het's Gonna Be Me. And guess what? It's almost May. So I'll be making that joke quite a bit.
Yeah.
Right on. Do you want to go next?
I am reading The Minimalist Home by Joshua Baker. Spring's coming up, and we're going to be spring cleaning, babe.
Oh, God, no.
So it's
excited for you guys.
Yeah, it's actually a really great kickstart because you fill the space you have, and even though we don't live in a very big space, we've managed to fill it, and some of the things are not needed. So just going through it and cleaning it out and just sort of revitalizing my belief in minimalism, and it's really easy and a really easy read, and it breaks it down, and it's good. And then you can find me here at Marginally Geeky, Epically Geeky, Sustainably Geeky, and on Instagram at Cedar Birch Cottage.
Very good. Right now I'm reading This Team Is Ruining My Life, But I Love Them Anyway, by Steve Dangle. It's all about the Leafs. It's about him, and it's about his rise from being just like a college student and how he got into YouTube, becoming a YouTube star, at least a little bit of a grown one. He's almost at 100,000 subscribers. And it's about his journey through that. It's pretty fun. And the cool thing is that he's actually doing a book signing near us on Friday. He's been doing a few different cities, but so we are actually going to take off and go see him on Friday to try and meet him and see if I can get my book signed. So that'll be kind of a fun one. So Yeah, you can find me here, Epically Geeky, as well as sometimes Sustainably Geeky. And I hear we have an upcoming episode that I might be interested in. So
Yeah,
Chris
next month.
Chris talked me into that one, so I'm going to join that group, which will be fun. So yes, again, if you've listened to the book, I hope you enjoyed it. If you've listened to this episode, I hope you enjoyed it. Again, we just tried something different. So if you did like the differences, send in your answers to the questions that we asked. We'd be really curious to read your answers, and then maybe we can actually read those out during another episode sometime. So that'd be kind of fun. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you guys have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.